Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
We are so fortunate to be joined today by Campbell Wright, the New Zealand American biathlete, and he is joining us from Finland. Apparently, we're just interviewing people that are in Finland right now. And he's fighting through a cold, so we really appreciate him being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Wouldn't say I'm fighting through the cold. I'm kind of just lying in bed, sleeping all day. It's not that hard. But...
Yeah, see, that's how we should have done it. I'm just so tickled, to have you on as so RJ's up in Canada. I'm here in the United States, and so it's always great when we get to interview somebody from North America. We started out earlier at the beginning of all of our interviews. We had Logan Pletz on, we had Tara Garrity Motes, and so now we're closing out our preseason interviews with you. So I guess we just want to start off by how are you doing, man? I know you're a little bit sick. What's going on?
Yeah, a wee bit sick. As I said before, I've gone 3 for 3 for coming to Finland and getting sick. So saw it coming. Wore my mask on the plane. Was a good athlete. Went to bed early. Had my vitamin C. Still just got sick. So,
oh man.
But other than that, it's been great though. I'd say I've been training good and enjoying my life, and we just spent a month in Lavinia where it was nice and sunny every day. So got my dose of vitamin D before coming up north.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you needed to tank up on that because now you're going to be in the land of very little sun for a little bit here.
Yeah, don't think it helped very much, but
no. Mm-hmm. So you were in Italy for a month. How have you been in Europe all summer then?
Yeah, so I've been basing myself in Europe and then just going to US for the training camps. Mm-hmm. And this last training camp, the Utah one, there was like 2 weeks in between training camps, and I just stayed in US because I didn't think it was worth it coming back to Europe for that. So yeah, kind of splitting my time between Europe and America this summer.
When you stayed in the United States, did you stay in Utah the entire time?
Mostly camps. First camp was in Bend, second camp was in Placid, third camp was in Placid, and then fourth camp was in Utah.
Got it. Okay. And then in your parents, are they still in New Zealand?
Yeah. So they both are living in New Zealand and have been there for 30 years now. So
yeah.
They're pretty comfy over there. Actually, my mum came over to Utah to say hi. She was going back to San Diego with my grandma to visit some relatives. So I am an American. I do have relatives over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
both
just
your parents American?
Yeah, both are. Yeah. So they're both from California.
Okay. I must say, like I was prepping for this interview, and I figured we would talk a little bit about New Zealand and America. And I was like, I'm not going to assume that you're like all New Zealander, because I mean, who knows? Maybe you lived in New Zealand a couple of years and lived most of your life in New Zealand, in America. And then I hear your accent. I was like, okay, I got to throw that out because clearly you've lived there quite a long time. Is it most of your life was in New Zealand? And
before I started competing for USA, I'd actually only been to US once when I was 8 years old for like 2 weeks to visit the relatives. So I'm very much born and raised in New Zealand, but I do feel a part of the US team and the team environment. Got to say that bit as well, just so I'm not a full. I don't even know. Yeah, just so I'm not full Russian. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
no, you can.
But
whatever,
I noticed
whatever.
too that you when you had some, I saw some pictures of you having success for New Zealand, and even you were still surrounded by the Americans. So, we shouldn't think that now that you've joined Team USA that's the first time you're exposed to them. You've worked with them for quite a while, right?
Yeah. So before I joined them, they kind of wanted me to come over because I had some good success at junior races, and I had like a good World Cup race. And so Tim actually reached out to me and said he wants me to come and race for US. But I wasn't so keen to jump ship just instantly because it's quite a permanent decision and one you can't really go back on. So the deal we came to was I get 1 or 2 years trial where I train at the camps and stay with the team at the races and have the coaches and see the team atmosphere, see the coaching staff, see if I like it, and then choose to swap after a year or two. Okay. And so the year I won Junior Worlds was that year. So that filled me with a lot of confidence that what I was doing was right. My shooting percentages went up, ski speed went up. Puberty also probably helped a little bit with that. I was 19, so that probably helps with those a little bit. But after that first year, I was ready to swap. I got the medal for New Zealand, and that's all I really wanted to do.
So is that sort of an IBU rule that you can switch nations once, basically, or?
Yeah, and I know the rules pretty well because I navigated it. So you also need to have like your passport since birth, or else you have a stand down period. So luckily, my parents got me my passport when I was born, and you get one swap. And it's also a bit more complicated because I also needed to swap Olympic committees as well. I think that was the final box that was checked before they said Campbell's on the team was getting NZOC and what's the United States one called? USOPC to sort out their end.
Right.
But I figured they had 3 years to figure that out, so I figured I'll be all good.
You'll be just fine.
So we'll do some test to get some clarity. Pick between the Haka or the Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, Haka every day. I don't think I've ever watched the Super Bowl halftime show, if I'm being honest.
I have a feeling where the other questions are going. Cricket or baseball?
Oh, I'm also not very much of a cricket guy either. That's not very Kiwi of me, but I do like the Japanese baseball player who says monkeys never cramps. So I'm going to go with baseball just because that one Japanese
guy. Fish and chips or barbecue?
Yeah, also I'm not a big fan of fish. My mum forces me to eat it, says it's healthy, but I'm going to go barbecue.
Okay, and if you barbecue, lamb or beef?
Oh, lamb.
Lamb. LMP or Coca-Cola?
Oh, I'd say LMP, just because I don't get it as often. It's a bit more of a treat.
Right. That's fair enough. Wild Buck or Budweiser?
Oh, Bud Light. Can I say Bud Light?
Yeah, I'd say
that's American.
Yeah. And Hobbit or Captain America?
Oh, Hobbit.
And I don't know if you've seen any of these. I just learned about it. That's why I threw it in. The Aurora Borealis or the Aurora Australis?
Well, I've only seen the Southern Lights once, and Northern Lights were pretty sweet the other day up here. So
nice.
Yeah, I would say Borealis.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you were pretty even, but leaning towards New Zealand on those.
Yeah.
It looked like
I wouldn't let New Zealand lose in that situation. I don't think.
I was just gonna say it looked like from Instagram that like every biathlete saw the Northern Lights the other night because there were tons of pictures of them up on Insta. So
yeah,
it must have been something.
I honestly turned my Instagram off that night. I saw them outside, and of course, because I also follow all Team USA checks here, follow a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is just too much. This is honestly, I've seen this Northern Light probably 20 times on my Instagram.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I never realized. So we actually had them in Calgary 2 weeks ago or so, and we could barely see them. And my wife's like, oh, I heard you have to look through your phone. And it's amazing the difference it makes when you look at the Northern Lights on your phone. You can see them like 10 times clearer.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty nuts.
That is, but
we were lucky here. Also, with your eyes, you could see them pretty sweet. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Going back a little bit, you were talking about how you wanted to make special mention that you do feel fully a part of the American team. I actually think that this American team very much represents the United States, though, because your roommate Maxime Germain, or at least I think he was your roommate last year, is French, right?
Yeah.
So
Also this year.
Oh, excellent! Yeah, so we got a Frenchman, we got a Kiwi, right? This is very much where our pot, or what do they call it, the mixed pot, whatever,
Potluck.
of nations. So yeah, everybody's we welcome everybody on our team.
Yeah. Also, Vasek Chervenka is a very American name either.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Yeah. Well, and then you get to mix it in with the Jake Brown and Sean Doherty, which are, I feel like, very American names.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, Jake Brown definitely toes the line of that one. Brings it back the US side.
Yes. Yeah, we gotta have good balance.
Yeah.
You mentioned that they first noticed you because you were having such good performances as a youth, as a junior. I went back and I think your first junior races were in the 2018-2019 season. So were you 16 years old when you were racing at that age, in those races?
Yeah, I was pretty young the first time I was doing junior cups.
Yeah.
I was also pretty bad if you looked at my ranking.
You were 16. It was okay.
Yeah, so no, I was pretty young when I started racing internationally. So, but so was Sean. I don't think it's that rare anymore.
Well, the reason, what I was gonna say though, is that in the United States, like, that's just not something you would really see. You wouldn't really see teenagers that age racing internationally, and I can't imagine there's a huge biathlon tradition in New Zealand. So, how did you get into first cross country skiing and then into biathlon, and then how at such an early age were you already racing in those junior international races?
Well, yeah, that's a big question. Now I just talk for 20 minutes nonstop.
Exactly.
Not joking.
Yep.
Not really.
Yeah, so I'm going to check out, and I'll see you guys in about 20 minutes.
Well, I got into skiing in New Zealand. We have one ski field, the Snow Farm. Really great place. Great trails, like 42K of track.
Oh, wow.
And when I was young, I moved from the North Island of New Zealand to the South Island. North Island doesn't have snow. South Island does have snow. And when we moved, we just happened to be neighbors with the lady, like with the family that started Snow Farm. So we were a pretty sporty family, 4 boys. Mum's always looking for an excuse to get one of the children away, So our neighbors were like, "Oh, we'll just take your kids up Snow Farm." And we're like, "Oh, what's Nordic skiing? What's that?" And at the time, I was doing like alpine racing, like slalom and GS, and wasn't really enjoying it that much, but I was doing it, and just liked skiing way more. And then the grandma of the family, Mary Lee, she got an email from a Canadian kid wanting to do an exchange from Ontario. He was a bit older than me, but I was showing a lot of interest in skiing. I'd went over and raced in Australia a few times, also with Mary. So she was like, "Campbell, is this something you'll be interested in? He'll come here for a month, you'll go there for a month." And I was like, "Yeah, definitely, that sounds great." And at this stage, I only just wanted to be a skier. Like, I'd done biathlon. We had an 8-point range at Snow Farm, but it just wasn't really the vibe. It's like on Sunday, you go up, you shoot once a week, you miss a bunch of targets, your hands get cold. It just really wasn't for me. So I was like, okay, I just want to be a skier. Went to Canada, trained at Hardwood Ski and Bike for one winter, and just loved it. The family I was with was great. The training was great. I love the team atmosphere. Seeing other people skiing just made me so excited. Even seeing like cross-country skis for sale in a shop for me was huge, because if you want anything like that in New Zealand, you need to order it a year in advance. So that is really when I just started frothing. I was just like, cross-country skiing actually exists, and I like it a lot. So then the next year, there was this, I call it the refugee team, because It is Spain, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Australia, and New Zealand and Ireland have had in the past like a cooperation group because we all had one or two athletes. So we got two coaches coach this group, and they were based in Italy, but they were a biathlon group. But I wanted to go race in Europe because my older brother's a mountain biker, is now a road biker. And I went to Canada and I did well, got podiums at Ontario Cup, which for me was great. You don't know your level at all when you're from New Zealand. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm not just horrible. But then my brother's like, yeah, but it means nothing unless you're in Europe. Europe is where they're good. So I was 14 maybe at the time. No, I was going to be 15. And I was like, oh, okay, I got to get to Europe, got to try to go to Europe. So I went and stayed with this group, and we stayed in a big hostel in Livigno, 6 bunk beds in a room, 12 people in a room, super low living costs, eating pesto pasta every day. But I told them before I went, I'm a skier. I'm not a biathlete. I can't shoot. I'm good at skiing. And what that translated to was when we all go to a biathlon race, we'll just leave Campbell at the hostel by himself and he can just race a local club race. So I did that for a winter and didn't really enjoy it so much. And I was like, okay, I guess I need to say I'm a biathlete now or else I don't get a race in Europe. So then the next year is when I said I was a biathlete and actually got a race and did the junior cups at 16. So it kind of just was a product of circumstance more than me saying I want to be a biathlete. And then, biathlon becomes funner the better you are. You hit a few targets, you do a good race, and then so then it
I was
just
going to ask,
snowballed from there.
is your switch to the American team still secretly a way to get into cross-country skiing? But
yeah, maybe. We have Project X. We have Project X, which is bringing the cross-country skiers to biathlon, but I'll be Project Y. Go join the cross-country skiers.
Well, you're turning into a good shooter, though. We can't let you go.
Yeah, I have my days.
Certainly, yeah.
You said you started liking it once you start, getting a bit more successful and stuff. Is it still growing on you?
Yeah, it definitely is. I realized you could do well at a race if you only miss one in each stage. So in a sprint, if I missed 2, I could do well. And that was the turning point. It was lucky I was good at skiing because generally if you miss 2, you can't do that well. So everyone likes doing well. So when you start doing that, it's good.
So
it's 1 or 2 more misses than the best shooter, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as long as the best shooter also isn't the best skier, then I'm fine.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
yeah, no kidding. Your brother is a professional cyclist, is that correct?
I'd say he's a struggle pro. He tries hard and he gets paid.
He tries hard. How did your family end up with professional athletes in such different sports?
Well, there's 4 brothers, so it's not 100% hit rate.
Oh, I didn't realize that you had two additional brothers on top of that.
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know, 4 boys in a family. I guess if you're a parent, you go run them around so they're tired in the evenings or something like that. And for me, it was, I think, one of the very big reasons why I'm good is having an older brother who's in sport. Because when you're young and you see him trying hard and training hard and not winning every race, you're like, damn, if I want to win every race, I actually got to try quite hard if I want to pull that off. Yeah. So I think that was super important for my mentality.
And then he's over there in Europe talking down to you, saying hey, if you're not in Europe, it doesn't count.
Yeah, then I got 4th at Youth Olympics, and he's like, oh, yeah, that's actually pretty good. And I was like, oh, thanks, Paul.
That's what I was going to say, is that It didn't take you long. You were talking about how those first races you didn't race well. It didn't take you long to start getting those good results.
Yeah. I guess I was just lucky.
Maybe some luck, but I think was it in your second year you were sixth in the sprint at Youth Worlds, then you were at the Youth Olympics, you were fourth in the sprint and sixth in the individual. I think that's a little bit more than luck.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, that's pretty phenomenal turnaround. I don't know. That was some nuts development going on there, yeah.
It really was. Do you know, was there something that you did differently? Or was it just like, hey, you mentioned puberty. Was it just you grew up a little bit more and just had a little bit more time training?
Yeah, and it was also, like, I knew Youth Olympics was kind of possible for me when I was 16. So that first year I was racing junior cups, and I knew that it was just youth, because juniors, man, you're racing men. Last year I was still a junior, which is, to think that last year I'd be racing 16-year-old Campbell kind of blows my mind a little bit. But I got one, I think like 33rd or something that first year in junior at the junior cup, and I was like, if you just take out all the youths, I think this is actually a pretty good race I just did. So that gave me a lot of hope of what I could do. And then having the goal of Youth Olympics really gave me a lot of motivation to train hard and give that a real shot.
I apologize. I actually don't remember where those Youth Olympics were.
Switzerland, Lausanne.
Switzerland.
But we raced in Prémenon in France.
Oh, I did. Really? Interesting. When you went, did you know your form? Like, you were good? Like, you were like, I can do this. Like, I have the form to compete for a medal?
Oh, absolutely no way. No way in hell. Like, I've never raced any Norwegians. They don't send French to Junior Cup. And the French they did send French at that stage. Did they send Germans? Moral of the story is no, not at all.
Yeah.
I knew I was competitive among the Italians, but I also knew Italy was not the best nation at all at biathlon. So that was a massive overperformance. Huge overperformance from me to get 6th and 4th at those Youth Olympics.
Overperformance or not, I mean, you sort of have a history of doing that, because then the next year you're still only 18, and you ended up on the IBU Cup for a couple of races, and you had a 5th place finish. And that next year, that was the 2020-2021 season, you also became only the second teenager ever to score IBU points, so or World Cup points. Well,
I do choke. You're skipping over one crucial thing, that Youth Worlds that next year.
Yeah,
if you look at that Youth Worlds that next year,
I didn't mention it.
I choked.
We're not going to talk about it.
That was yeah. Don't talk about it. Didn't happen. Exactly.
Yep, it didn't happen because your Junior Worlds the next 2 years were really, really good. But my point being, like, every single year, you called it an overperformance, but every single year you've got these really top quality moments, because then your 19-year-old season at Junior Worlds, you had the 6th place, you raced at the Olympics. When you're a 20-year-old, you won the gold medal at Junior Worlds in the sprint. So it's like every year, like, you can call it an overperformance, but I think at some point it becomes a trend, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I'll race 20 times, so 1 or 2 is going to be good. It's just math, Eventually, you're going to do a good one.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's
you're
also
very
one
humble.
thing I do really like. That's what I like about biathlon as well. It gives you a chance, Yeah. Eventually, it will happen. Might take 100 tries, but eventually you'll shoot 0-0 and ski well, and it will be great.
Yeah.
That is one of the beauties of biathlon. It's very humbling, because every time you think you're in a good flow, you miss 4 out of 5, and you're like, damn, just got to start all over again. But you have those days where where shooting seems so much easier, and
biathlon will kick you in the balls bloody hard.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about that.
Have you had a lot of improvement in, like, your equipment and wax techs and that kind of thing? Because you said you were kind of supported by the U.S. team for the last couple of years already.
Yeah.
Is that kind of similar to what it was, or do you feel that it's, especially last season, it got a lot better?
Yeah, I think I had really good wax staff for my level when I was young. I had one wax man, Fausto Bormetti, the dad of the national team, assistant national team coach, Emil Bormetti. And he's waxed for I think 4 Olympics for Italy and seriously knows his stuff. So going to those big races, I never felt like my skis really held me back so much. I would say the big difference is the material, like the skis themselves. Now that I'm starting to get good on Rosenthal contract, I get quite good factory skis. And I think that helps a lot. Also, the waxing is huge. The waxing on US is good, but also my waxing before was not bad at all.
Right. And how is the transition from like being just somebody who skis Rosenthal to somebody who, I don't know, do you get invited to the factory to pick out your skis, or like how does that go?
They have open bar dinner at Le Grand Bonnard. That one's pretty sweet. Get invited to that. And I hope I'm invited to that this year. But all that stuff happens behind the scenes. I'm a big fan of my job's to be an athlete and race well. And one of the beautiful things about the US team is they have a job for just about everything you can imagine. So there's someone to go pick my skis, there's someone to wax my skis, there's someone to write my training plan, write my strength plan, a doctor, a physio, I get injured. Like, that's one of the big things, is all that stuff kind of just gets taken care of for me, which is really nice because I just like racing, and US just lets me race and not worry about financials, booking hotels, traveling, logistics, this type of stuff.
But so I guess I was more thinking of, when you're kind of an unknown and then you become a known with success, and Rosenthal's like, oh, now we got the really good stuff for you. Why don't you come over and pick it out? Like,
there's definitely a pecking order that thing. So I think Emilien Jacqueline left Rosenthal this year. That'll help me out a wee bit, get a little bit better skis. But I think I should get pretty good stuff this year. And that does make a huge difference, getting the good World Cup skis from the factory compared to just going to your local ski shop and picking up a pair is pretty. It's actually crazy how different they can be.
Is it the grind mostly?
Factory. I have no idea. Honestly, skis to me are like black magic. And it seems when I ask people also, they're just like, we have no idea. Even the Rosenthal guys are like, we just need to take 100 skis and ski on them and say, these 10 are way better than all the other ones. Okay. And they're just like, we don't know. We tested on the machine, on the flex tester. Some days you're making a ski and you're like, this ski is going to be so good. Everything is perfect, and then it just doesn't move. So I don't know.
Yeah. Like magic.
I always imagined like there's this old man sitting in a little, shed almost, who's been doing it for 80 years. It's like, I'm going to make this special ski today.
Yeah, you're not actually that wrong. The tools they use are pretty old school, I'd say. Yeah. For the World Cup skis, at least. Like, I think the entry level skis are just mass produced, but they reckon it's the water is what they reckon. The water that's used in the skis.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
And how about your rifle? Have you made any changes to that in the last couple of years? Now that you, I'm guessing when you were younger, you were shooting a sort of a standard setup, and then started making some adjustments to fit better, or?
I was shooting a Sansigné, which is a French stock, from like pretty much that first year I was racing IBU Cup. I already had a Sansigné because I was like, I want to be a biathlete. This is what I want to do.
Right.
So, got a French stock and set my position, and did not touch it until I was 19.
Okay.
So 19? Yeah, 19. And then when I went to US, first time in US at training camp with Tim, go up to the range, get in position on prone, and he's just like,
get over here.
He's like, I think something's wrong here. I'm like, what do you mean? Feels great. He's like, when's the last time you moved your position? I said, I don't move my position. I electrical taped everything down when I was 16, and this is it. This is what I shoot.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, yeah, we're going to do something about that. And I was in the mood to, like, when going to US, I went with a very open mind.
Right.
Knowing that the training philosophy was going to be different. There's a lot of things are going to change. So I was just like, yeah, move it. So then my pro percentage got better that year. Standing didn't get better, actually, believe it or not.
Okay.
And then last year, I got a breezy from the German gun maker. And then my shooting percentages went up across the board on pro.
Huh. So you say breezy, that is?
Yeah, I got a breezy. There's a German gun maker in Oberhof who makes stocks. And I was lucky, like, you can't really just buy that one. You put in a queue and then he only takes certain people and it's this whole process.
Right.
But I was lucky to get in on that process and get one of his stocks and just no complaints at all. That thing just slaps targets down. Don't even need to be that good at shooting, I reckon.
Right.
So
it's all luck, right?
Yeah, it's all luck. It's a numbers game. So that helped a lot. I think last year was my best shooting year by a pretty decent chunk of change. So hopefully more of the same, or even better if I'm lucky.
Yeah,
even better.
But it's like looking at all your stats, it's pretty amazing to see that your shooting time improved, your ski speed improved, and your shooting percentages went up. Like that's a tough combination to shoot faster and still shoot better as well.
Yeah.
So it's that.
Let's hope I don't muck up those statistics, eh? See how long I can ride that wave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you look at that at all? The numbers? You said it's a numbers game, but do you look at the stats after the race really. Or no?
I know that my prone percentage is a bit shit. I need to work on that. But that's probably the only thing I know. I know the prone needs to be in the 90s if you want to be good.
Yeah, and or ski not a lot faster.
Oh yeah, or just ski like a bat out of hell. But I'm not quite there yet with that.
Yeah. So when you're in a sprint or individual and Johannes Tingesbo passes you, are you tempted to go in tuck behind him, or are you like
100%. And the first World Cup I ever did, it was Östersund 20K, and he went past me. On the Östersund 20K is a huge hill, probably like a 1 kilometer long hill, and he went past me, and my arrogant young self said, let's just try stay with him as long as we can. And I just blew myself to pieces. So then I was like, ooh, maybe don't do that again.
So it's I find it hard to relate to you're a fantastic and super fast skier. So how that compares to someone like Bo or one of the fast Norwegians, but
last year
the
was
difference
good.
Is not that big anymore, right?
Yeah, last year was really nice for me because, Ponce Loma and Johannes Bo, level of their own. Like, if they go past you in a race, maybe try to keep with them for 1 or 2 transitions. That's it. But everyone else, last year, at the end of the year when I was skiing well, like, staying in the draft behind them felt pretty doable. So that's nice. At least I know staying in the draft of a quick guy, I can manage that. And there was one race actually, Rupe Holding sprint. Right as I left, Tarjei Bo left his prone. And I remember thinking that on my first lap, I was like, oh man, this isn't that hard. And I asked one of my wax techs on the side, I was like, should I pass him? And he's like, no, he's in third, don't pass him. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, don't pass him. And then did 2 laps with him, and I was like, whoa, that was actually pretty doable. And also it was good because it was like pacing myself as well, because generally I just smack the first loop as hard as I can and I'm a bit shagged after that. So that race was one of like my best races last year, and I fully attest it to him taking the wind and pacing me the first two loops.
Yeah.
So thank
well,
you,
that's maybe
for that.
maybe that's experience too, right? To know how to pace a race. And
yeah,
is that
I'll
something
get
you
there.
work on, or?
Nah, I think it's just trial and error, you know?
Yeah.
And I always figure if I have the legs, because I blow up a lot, and every time I blow up, I just say like, I don't know, my coaches always come to me, same story, can we need work on pacing? I'm like, yeah, but if I'm fit, I can do that speed. I know I can do that speed if I'm fit. And they're just like, oh, okay. So it's a conversation I've had a lot, but I always just say, if I'm fit enough, I'll make it.
And you can only find that out by just trying.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes the last lap of a race bloody awful. I don't really know why I do it to myself, but...
Well, but maybe you'll get better at skiing fast while you're blown up.
Nah, right? I don't know. I don't think I have that skill.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty tough skill to get, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hey, and then last year... sorry, go ahead.
You may be going to the same thing, but I was just going to go back to, you mentioned starting off, and this might have been before we even started recording, but you didn't have maybe the greatest start to the season. You were not racing for a couple of weeks there, and then you came back in the second trimester. So what did you do during that time, that sort of personal training camp away that got you ready for that clearly great form you had by the time you got to Oberhofen Ruhpolding?
Thanks for saying I just didn't have a great start. My start was god awful, but thank you for being polite. I would say I just went on a training camp, as you do. And I told my coaches, please do not just give me L3. I'm so tired of doing L3. I need hard intervals because my body responds well to doing hard stuff. It doesn't take me long to get the speed, but I do need quite a lot of L4 and L5 to get there, you know? So, just went and did like 3 intensities a week for those 2 weeks leading to Oberhof. And two of the 3 were max, and then the other one was one of those pesky L3s. But yeah, so just did a lot of intensity because I knew, I didn't know the base was there. I was very worried, very anxious. But my coaches said, Campbell, you'll be fine. The base is there. And I was like, I don't really believe you, but I got no one else to trust. So I guess I'm going to do your training plan. And turns out the base was still there. Training for 6 months over the summer doesn't just disappear with 6 weeks of sickness. You think it does because you feel really slow, but
the base,
need to bring it to the top.
Yeah. And then your world championships were pretty decent, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say that was also a very big overperformance. I think for my level, to the results that I did, was not equal, if that makes sense. I think I just had 6 insane races because also in the relays I was going.
I really think you're underselling yourself because I mean I get it. Like sometimes it's just one of those days where you're lucky with you hit 3 edges and they just happen to fall. Then you have a lucky day maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was just shooting way too well. And also every night I went home I was like, okay, Cam, we did good today. Tomorrow's probably going to be shit. And then the next day was also good. And I was like, oh, okay, don't get your hopes up. Tomorrow you're probably going to be bad again. But World Champs was just its own little bubble by itself, I think.
And was that did you like the environment? Were you just was it that mindset of, I'm just happy to be here and maybe I got lucky, but we'll see what tomorrow brings? Or...
Yeah, I also think once you get a bit cash in the bank with one good race that really frees you up to really race free, which I think is hugely underestimated. And I think that's something that I got a lot from racing for New Zealand, is I never really had to deal with qualifications or trials, or no one really expected anything of me, if that makes sense. As you do, you know, as a Kiwi on the start line, everyone's just happy you're there. And they say, great job for getting 70th. You didn't get 80th. So really no pressure. I felt pressure, but just from myself. External pressure, I think I still don't really feel it so much, which is great. So even at big races, I don't really get nervous, which is super helpful. And then that's multiplied by having like the first race go good, because then you're really just like, okay, I can do whatever I want and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. And then, you kind of kept doing well. Oslo was awesome. Soldier Hollow, that must have been amazing feeling to get on the sweet flower ceremony. And
that was super sweet. That was sweet.
Was a lot of family there as well?
My dad was there, so that was cool.
Nice. Yeah.
But that was definitely the highlight of the season. That was also because US Biathlon brought probably 15 extra staff from out of the woodwork to that race. So if we just went there and did the men's relay was honestly probably the highlight, because that really just made everyone feel great. And then, as I said, once there's cash in the bank, then you can just race free and it doesn't matter. So, yeah.
They got a picture of you right after the sprint. Was it literally right as you finished? Because it looks like you're leaning on the poles. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so it looks like they just ran up to you right as you finished and just started shooting pictures of you. Is that actually what happened?
Yeah, and that's when I knew. Also, I knew I was doing good because Johannes Bo started one bit behind me. And the whole last lap, I was looking back and I didn't see him. I'm like, holy shit, Campbell, you're doing bloody good if Johannes Bo hasn't caught you yet. So,
well, I was going to ask, like, when they do that, is it a good feeling because you know something good happened? Or are you just like, can you get out of my face for a second? Like, hey, I'm trying to breathe.
It comes and goes. Like, that one is fine. You don't really think about it. But, for example, they did the exact same thing after the individual in Östersund last year where I did really bad because I was the last one across the line. So, Campbell Wright, and that is when I'm really just like, I want to swear, but I just want to cuss him out. I'm just like, leave me alone. Like, I got tears behind my glasses. I'm just like, get that thing away from me, please. So, yeah.
You mentioned the relay. One of the things that stood out to me last year, and maybe this has just been there, you just didn't have the opportunity to do it, but last year when you were in the relays, you looked kind of fearless. Like when you were in those moments, like it didn't really matter who you were up against. It's like, all right, I'm just as good as you. I'm gonna go, swashbuckling away, and I can match you. Did you feel that way, or was it just?
Head thrashing up the hills. Sadly, it's become a trademark of mine that I'm not proud of, and I'm trying my hardest to fix it. I really am. But I guess in relays, my idea is that it's short enough you can get to the finish line. You know what I mean? So when you go, it's like you can't let any gaps open up. Maybe you can, and I race relays bad, but I've only raced relays 1 year. I'm still kind of figuring them out. But my idea is whoever's coming by you, you need to sit on them. You have to, because the moment you let that open up, and also you can come into the range gassed. Man, you have 3 extra bullets.
Right.
That's a lot of wiggle room. So a lot of times in relays, it's just like get to the range and then I have 30 seconds rest or however long I shoot in,
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's not fearless, but it's more just not really thinking about. It's only looking at that lap, if that makes sense. Yeah. I'm not thinking past one lap. But yeah, head thrashing away.
It's a pretty distinct look too, and I don't know. I'm I'm sure your coaches would like you to fix it, but I kind of like it. It makes it really it shows the effort, and it looks really good on television.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I really hated is that it looks like that. It looks god awful. I know how it looks. I see it. I have eyes, but I still manage to move quickly. So every time my coach is like, "Campbell, this is bad," I'm like, "Yeah, I know it's bad, but I did ski that lap pretty quick." And they're just like, "Oh yeah, that's true."
I mean, how can they argue with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they're just going to say, imagine how fast you are if you didn't do that.
I know, that's exactly what they say. And I'm like,
hey, but I'm thinking Benny Dole wasn't known for his best technique, and he skied pretty fast to his whole career. So, sometimes you just got to go with what's comfortable for you too, right?
Yeah. I hope I don't look like that all the time. I think I look not horrible
no.
for the first 2/3 of the race. I hope. I tell myself I do, at least, so I can sleep at night, but...
You look great.
What's your,
you look great. Just take it from us. You look fantastic out there.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. You didn't need to say that. I didn't pressure you into saying that.
What was your experience in Canmore?
Campbell was sweet. It was my first ever time there, believe it or not. Like, I think most Kiwis, when they go to Canada, end up in Canmore. So a lot of people assume I've been there when I say I've been to Canada. But Canmore was freaking epic, eh? Like, that place is seriously cool. Seriously, seriously cool. So,
yeah,
enjoyed it a lot.
And when you say place, do you mean the Nordic Center, or do you mean a town, or just the whole setting? Or
I think just the whole shebang. I think it's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, your shooting wasn't as you had before, I guess.
I was using a different barrel. I blame that. I was using a different barrel.
Was there like a incident?
No.
That you had to change your barrel, or?
This is what I tell myself. It's a lie. I just shot bad, but.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. But the last race, you must have gotten your normal barrel on again, because that one went pretty sweet.
That race was actually pretty sweet because one of the old cross-country skiers from New Zealand, okay, he's not old, but he's older than me. Who was kind of like a role model growing up. He was the guy who was good when I was young, Andy Pohl. He lives in Alberta now. No, he lives in Calgary now. And he came and watched the race. So that was nice for me to have him there. Yeah, it was kind of like he told me not to do biathlon. He said, Campbell, stay away from those circles. But
good thing you didn't listen.
Yeah, I did listen. I listened as hard as I could, but I just couldn't really pull it off.
You were overruled.
Yeah, I was overruled by the world.
You just can't stay away from it. It just draws you in.
Yeah. What else? And another thing that helped a lot was the IBU funding as well for the developing nations. That helped massively.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate we can't have it every year, but it's understandable. But
yeah, I did love it. And I think everyone else loved it as well. It was crazy. It's like when we left Europe, we left Oslo, it was rainy, horrible, bad snow. And then we got to like USA, Canmore, and everyone just chilled out. It was night and day. Like the vibe just on the bus to the races. It was sunny. Everyone was happy. The season was coming to an end. It really honestly felt like holiday already.
I don't think they could have had a better. I mean, it wasn't ideal for the snow, I'm sure.
But I don't think anyone
high temperatures. But
I think everyone would take the high temperatures and the slot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a pretty cool event there. I saw that you were messing about with the towel for your cold there.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty clogged up, but
I think we I don't know, Jordan, did you have any other things you really wanted to bring up there?
I had one last big question, and so you're roughly in this generation of athletes with like Eric Perot and Jacomel and Strello and Hartweg, Stroller, and so you guys are sort of matched up or paired up with age wise with this absolute just glut, this huge amount of Norwegian talent. So you've got, if you just look at the IBU Cup, I think the Norwegians had like the top 5 positions. How many of those guys could have finished, in the top of the World Cup if given the chance, or like in the top 10 to 15? Do you all in that group, do you think about, about how to race against those guys? Like what the future of biathlon looks like going up against those guys? Or at this stage of the game, is that not even on your radar? You're just focusing on getting better every single year.
I definitely know they exist, I definitely am aware that it's funny because 2002 is a super weak year, but 2001 is just bonkers, and so is 2000. So, I'm right on the young side of the blob, I guess we'll call them. And yeah, it is pretty cool to see young guys. And I think in a race, if I want to see one of the established biathletes do well, or someone close to my age, of course I'm going to root for the younger guy. Like when Eric got his podium last year, or when Eric won this year, that was pretty sweet. And also when Hartweg last year just had his insane breakout season. Like podiuming the first World Cup was honestly just, I got chills just saying that just then. Because the year before, me and him were battling in the pursuits like 50th, 55th, 60th, 40th. And then he just came out and got third, and I was just like, damn, that's a progression right there. Yeah. I think that last year he only got 1 or 2 World Cup points, or only got top 40 like twice, and then got third. So yeah. I definitely root for the younger guys. I wouldn't say I root for Norwegians because they're hard to root for because they're just the best. They're not the best, but they just do really good at most races. And one guy my age who I really want to race but haven't raced is actually Uldal. I haven't raced him in probably 2-3 years, and I know he's my age. I know he's good, and I want to race him, but I just haven't got the chance. I even went down to IBU Cup to race him, but he didn't start that one. Riddle me that.
Fearful of you.
And then he didn't go to Junior Worlds either. Riddle me that. So, yeah, no, I think it's just good to see that there are young people. I think it makes the sport more exciting. Also, because us young guys, we're super bipolar. Like, one day good, one day bad. Like, we really haven't figured it out yet. So when someone has a good day, it's like cool to see on the results.
Yeah. Is that because I guess Jake is a bit older, but other than that, you have a pretty young group. Right?
Yeah, Jake's a bit older. Sean's a bit older.
Right.
And also Paul Scholmer, don't count him out. He's also a bit older. But then we have the group of younger guys like me, Maxime. Do I need to say last names? Probably. Maxime Germain, Vince Minacci, Vašek Červenka. It's a pretty young group. Nick Burkhart as well was on national team this year.
Yeah. Very young group. And you guys are having some success. I mean, not you obviously on the World Cup, but some of those guys on the IBU Cup as well have had some really good races. So it's kind of a nice generation coming up for Team USA.
Yeah, it is. Hopefully more men's relays top 6, because top 6 you get prize money. So
yes, lots of top 6. Yes, that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know on social media, there's the guy the Biathlon 23, and he asked us to do these little preview pieces for him, these little like paragraphs basically, and so we could put in sort of anything that we wanted to, and one of the things that I was putting in there was that my sort of outside the box prediction was that you guys were the Team USA was going to have a very good relay year. So no pressure, but we're hoping to see some good things just like
he's on the record now.
Yeah, my head will be thrashing. You'll see it. It'll be out
there. That sounds awesome.
That's probably a good note to leave it on, RJ. Unless you had. Yeah.
No, I think the people with the colds here are giving us some signals. So But yeah, sorry that you feel that way, Campbell, but I really hope that this gets it out of the way for the rest of the season. And I hope you get better soon and are able to make a strong, fresh start.
I ain't afraid of one thing, though. Last year I smacked 2 and was fine, so.
Yeah. No, so it's, we're really looking forward to see you do even better this year. And it's a joy to watch you. So thank you so much for coming on. It was really fun.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure. I really appreciate it. Go get better, and can't wait to watch you have an awesome year.
Hype. Cheers, boys. Thanks for that.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.